Okay, thank you, Eva. Yeah, it's just a coincidence that I had to chair a session and now I have to present to you. Okay, so I think that we are moving to a part, also very nice part of this conference, where we basically present to you some corpus-based research, more linguistic research, which is also very nice. And I start with some observations on tracing and control constructions in a Bulgarian Parsebank, and it is universal dependencies Parsebank of Parliament sessions. So the plan of the talk is some introduction, something about this Parsebank of Bulgarian parliamentary sessions, and then the linguistic part about the realizations of the relation ex-comp, which is more or less the control relation. And some conclusions. Okay, so in the universal dependencies syntactic guidelines, I assume that many of you are acquainted with this initiative because it's a global one and there are many syntactic resources there. There are syntactic morphological guidelines and everything, but here I'm interested in the relation ex-comp, which, as I said, should reflect the control constructions, but of course the reality is different always. It is viewed as a clause that belongs to the group of core arguments together with the causal subject and also the complement, the causal complement. So basically in universal dependencies, this relation is used in two cases. In constructions with obligatory control, object to subject and subject to subject, and usually non-finite. For example, in the English sentence, I want to sleep. And also it is used for the respective types of secondary predication. For example, again in English, she declared the cake beautiful. So the predicates declared and beautiful are connected through this relation. So in this survey, as I said, I'm interested in the open clausal complements only. It means a predicative or clausal complement without its own subject. And I just wanted to observe these control types, and I restricted myself to subject control structures in this corpus. So why? It is just a showcase of a linguistic phenomenon in a big corpus. I consider the linguistic investigations over Parsebanks as a way to identify new language problematic phenomena for parsing beyond the already modeled constructions in grammars, annotation schemes, and manually annotated tree banks. We have a manually annotated tree bank, but it would be interesting to go to automatically annotated banks. That's why we call them Parsebanks. So, I'm not sure whether the linguistic analysis would be interesting for everyone, apart from us linguists, but I think that the fact that we have a corpus of parliamentary sessions might be of interest to you if you want to make some experiments or use it. So, as I said, it has been annotated with respect to the UD schema, and it is freely available. It has been done within a project that is called Kliment. It is supported by Kliment, and of course, again, the reason to start this project was very sad because of pandemic, but the result is very cheerful, I would say, because now we have from the first phase of this project, we have parliament corpora for 16 parliaments in Europe. And now in the subsequent project phase that is ongoing at the moment, we will have altogether 27 parliaments with date extended to 2022. And also some applications will be done over this. So you can see the figures about the Bulgarian parliament corpus. from 2014 to 20 at the moment, the number of documents and the number of words. So, yeah, it was converted from the official or page of our National Assembly. It had to be downloaded one by one because they stopped to give access to all data at some point. But anyway, it was done. So there you have rich metadata like speaker information, date and year of birth, occupation, party membership, personal web page when available. Very interesting is the incident data because it includes applauses, laughing, entering or leaving the plenary room, noises, talking, not in the microphone but aside. Also party information, name, whether it's a ruling dispute or opposition. So this corporal work processed on the level of morphosyntax, lemmas, dependency syntax, and named entities. And there is a model that was used, also applied to Slovene, Croatian, Serbian. Okay, so we have the corpus, and if we don't train anything, but we want to use it, apart from the fact that it's available through no sketch engine, Concordizer, and also lately it was uploaded into sketch engine, so you can find it there as well. If I want to do some research on syntax level, this is more complex. And these tools for concording, they are not very friendly to people who want to do some syntactic observations. That's our experience. So we extracted some patterns that include the control verb, the dependent verb, and the subjects where they are available. It means that this corpus had to be put in another system, which is also a desktop one, Quark system, and there already I could observe the things. Okay, so it is time to see some examples. The XComp you can see in pink, this relation and the dependency tree. And up you can see the how it is presented in English. Can to check the boss. Without subjects, you can check. So it is typical control construction. Another example, Reinov will come to them, or Reinov will come to take them with the critic. Here, it is a quasi-control construction because here we have an adjunct sentence in order to take them. Okay, and the last example here, how could to happen this? How could this happen? Here we have a very interesting example because the subject goes with the verb happen below, you can see it, but the modal verb could be raising one and could be also control one. I mean, you can have both interpretations, and it's not easy to, without semantics, to decide which one it is. Okay, so structures of control in Bulgarian, brief overview, very brief. In the traditional Bulgarian grammar literature, the control verbs are viewed as imposing argument sharing, which is an approach that I also like, although there is no theory behind it, but co-indexing is a strategy that I like, maybe from HPHG and other lexicalist theories. Most of the verbs are modal, with some exceptions, or phrasal. In our grammars, they are considered auxiliaries, not full verbs, and thus they constitute the so-called complex verbal predicate, forming a simple sentence where both verbal subjects are co-indexed. So we had an example. Yeah, like you can check. This is the complex verbal predicate. So, realizations of control structures in the corpus. The most frequent one is the modal verb can. You can see the number of occurrences. On the contrary to our grammars, in the UT version of our tree bank, the modals were treated as full verbs, not as auxiliaries. So in the top 20 lemmas, you can see what comes, like verbs want, then the phrasal ones, and then the other verbs, like succeed, try, miss, go somewhere, deny, and aim, intend, be able, dare. More or less, they are cognitive. So, as I said, do we have everything within this relation as a control relation or control verb? Of course not. At the same time, we also have some verbs that are out of place here because they either express adverbial semantics or allow a non-controlled subject. I mean, not so strict. Such verbs are go out, hurry, call for, suggest. So they really need another relation to be put there. This fact is not surprising because, as I mentioned above, such verbs could also share the same subject in some of their realizations, but it is context bound only. So if we go to really true control verbs, they shouldn't allow a different subject in any of the contexts of the lower clause verb. Apart from the modal, phrase, and other verbs, some additional verbs come out. We'll see next slide. So I also, I'm always tempted to use the semantic classification behind WordNet because they have 15 semantic classes. Not too many and not too few, and we can use them for some semantic classification. So the groups that I found are, I mentioned already, verbs of cognition, learn, miss, social verbs, try, force, be obliged to, risk, verbs of change, to prepare for something, verbs of communication. So some limitations here. Please note that it would be interesting to investigate further the relation between control structures and reflexivity. Another issue that became evident is the role of theoresis, and I cite the works of my colleagues in the paper, so you can check what is said about it. Because it turns out that in such texts, very often we find reflexive passive. For example, the municipality is obliged to perform the checks, but with the reflexive passive in Bulgarian. Such cases are also considered control structures, not from a lexical, but rather from a syntactic point of view. Some quasi-control verbs, I already mentioned some, but let's see some other. Basically, they are verbs of action. To come to vote, go to speak, wait to see, work to ensure something. Also, verbs of communication and commission, suggest, engage oneself with something, appel, choose, plan. For example, I would suggest we to come later. Okay, so some conclusions. Why such corpus-based study would be useful? Because it addresses also the gray zones in the grammar, like not only division, in this case, between raising and control verbs, but also some other interesting nuances among them. And also, we could find some tests to distinguish between the true ones and the ones that behave like adjuncts or they require another relations. So we had one such test with in order to, but of course this test could have also the lexical properties of the verbs, like their valency and agreement potential, which leads us to the lexicon and the connection with the potential of the verb, not only the syntax and the text. In addition to using them as features when training parsing models, this test might be implemented as filters over the search in Parsebanks. We saw that there is overgeneration of this relation, XCOM, but one of the reasons it appears in such a way, apart from the fact it's difficult in itself, that it was inherited from the Parsebank model, where all the cases contextually that shared subject, they were marked with such a relation. So, in spite of them being true or sporadical. So this generalization came here, and now we want to filter it somehow via tests and observations. Okay, I think this is the last one. So thank you very much for the patience.